Thank you, Reverend Watt. Thank you, Dublin. I want to start by thanking everyone for coming this morning as we gather today to celebrate and remember my father's life. Those of you who knew my father know he was a real people person. He loved to talk. He was hilarious, always had jokes. Well, he wasn't always that way. When he was a young boy in Hong Kong, when strangers came to the house, my dad was so shy he used to hide in the corner and face the wall. Who knew he would become, to grow up to be such a social butterfly? My father was a believer and a man of faith. He went to church every Sunday. He was loved by his community. He was also extremely opinionated. He was stubborn, stuck in his ways, but I loved him for it. He was an all-around sportsman, but he really loved basketball and golf. Whenever he found the time, he would play the back nine with Uncle Jake or Doug Wong. He found his passion for basketball on the blacktop. He told me when he was a teenager, he used to play out there in the sun, sweating out his clothes, and that's when he found his passion. He showed me my first taste of basketball on Monday nights. They used to gather and play, and that's when I learned to play basketball with the grown men. Because my dad had the keys to the gym at Cambridge, we had the court to ourselves, so I was able to bring my friends and my cousins, and sometimes it was just us in the gym. On Friday nights, he led fellowship, where they would praise God, and there were so many activities happening. He started Cornerstone into a church league for basketball, CSF. I remember we used to take trips to the East Bay, packed in my dad's minivan. For some reason, every time we finished, we'd like to eat McDonald's. Those are some of my fondest memories. My dad was the smartest guy I ever met. Before I had the internet, I had my dad. I always asked questions. It was in my nature. I'm inquisitive. My dad was an endless stream of knowledge. He seemed like he always knew what to say. He never stopped learning. He got his bachelor's. More than 20 years later, he switched professions and got his master's. That's not easy. He was constantly listening to podcasts, sports radio, his conservative talk shows, or reading the Bible. He was extremely passionate about gardening, always learning about new plants and wanting to add to his collection. He knew so many recipes. He could cook anything. Steaks, lobsters, pork chops, lamb, eggplant, rice, curry. The list was endless. He used to always say, variety is the spice of life. My father also took his education very seriously. My Aunt Bonnie, she used to help my dad grade his papers at night. A student would get the answer wrong, and she would go to mark it off, and he would tell her, no, we have to give them partial credit, otherwise they get discouraged very easily. You see, that's the kind of teacher he was, patient, kind, and insightful. In fact, he was a phenomenal teacher. His students loved him. They knew him as Tang. He made lifelong bonds with many of his students and coworkers. Anytime my friends, Derek, Jamani, JB, they would come over, he would sit them down and he would talk to them about, their future plans, what they wanted to do, encourage them to stay in school. He was the strongest person I ever met. I never once heard him complain about sickness or any of that. I know I would have, but not my dad. He told me only God can tell him when it's his time. And when he was diagnosed, he decided that he needed to enjoy more of life. He bought a gigantic 70-inch TV, finally got cable TV. I remember coming home from a deployment, and I was with my friend Jonathan, and we saw the TV, And he said, "Damn, Mr. Tang, that's a big-ass TV." And he said, "You know, Jonathan, sometimes you just have to enjoy life." He also took on carpentry, crafting little wooden spoons. My sister's boyfriend, David, helped him build his wood workshop in our garage. Thank you, David. About 4 months ago, I came home and I found my mom in the living room crying. I asked her what was wrong. That's when I found out he was being placed in hospice. I remember kneeling down next to him and telling him I was scared. I didn't want him to go. He told me he wasn't giving up, so neither should I. He was always so calm, even when faced with impossible odds. But even exceptional men like my father aren't invincible. After fighting cancer for over 3.5 years, his body finally gave in. And on June 27th, my mom's birthday, my father passed away. And that was when his final act of love transpired. He fought as hard as he could to spend one more birthday with you, Mom. His selflessness was never more evident to me. Dad, I always knew that one day I would have to lay you to rest. I just didn't know it would be so soon, so I have to thank you. Thank you for always being patient and loving me unconditionally, even when I was difficult. Thank you for constantly challenging me. You made sure I never took shortcuts. Thank you for being a gracious host by always making my friends feel welcomed in our home. I wasn't the only one who called you Dad. Thank you for your constant guidance and wisdom. Thank you for Courtney, my beautiful little sister. And thank you for working so hard. Your hard work manifested itself all around me. These 4 walls, the roof over my head, the food on the table, the clothing on my back. Thank you. Today's my birthday. I turned 24 today, Dad. So as I celebrate my own life, we remember yours. You lived one hell of a life, and I'm proud to be your son. You don't have to worry anymore. Your fight is finished. You can rest now. Thank you.